Hi everyone, this is Joanna Pilatowicz, and we will be continuing talking about Thiaoouba prophecy. The book in Polish language is under title Mission, Michel Demarquez. And also for this conversation, I invited Samuel Chong, Chinese interpreter and working also in translation of not only this book, but much more topics related to aliens and what's going on with the world. Hi, Samuel. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you again for having me here.
I'm glad that you are back with us. And I would love to continue about Thiaoouba prophecy. And we didn't touch on the topic of those cemetery, those dead bodies when he was taken to see planet, and Tal, I believe, was showing him different aspects of life there, right?
Yes, when he was on the planet Thiaoouba, Tao, the main ET who guided him, took him to, along with a few other ETs, took him to a golden doko, a golden structure in which people can see from inside to the outside, but not from outside to the inside. In that golden doko, the golden structure, there were almost 200 corpses of other kinds of ETs floating in the air, in which they showed him some of the interesting corpses. And some of them were lying down, some of them were in a meditation position. And he was told that there were 147 different corpses, all from planets in our galaxy. So we have at least 147 different ETs in just in our galaxy, and they're from planets of different categories. And he actually saw the corpse of Jesus Christ, and he
Mm.
described it in
That
detail.
is peculiar. That is really peculiar because that's touching on many people's different beliefs. But I would like to dive more into that topic because I'm curious, like how they explain him here. I don't remember that part, so I cannot really recall what happened to the souls of those extraterrestrials, people from different planets. Was these corpses were real even, or was it a hologram, or was it connected with the soul somehow? Did they incarnate it? Sorry to give you too many questions, but then you have an idea.
Yeah, those corpses are just the physical corpse of the people. Their souls already left their physical bodies and already reincarnated to other life forms. Those
Mhm.
are just to commemorate people that were important on different planets. For example, on Earth, I mean, Jesus Christ is the most important figure. And so that's why the corpse of Jesus Christ is kept or preserved in the golden doko. So those are just very important figures on different planets. And some people say that Jesus Christ came from Earth, but not exactly. So the book Thiaoouba Prophecy explains a lot of information, as I
Mhm.
mentioned last time, where Jesus came from, where Christ came from, and how
Now,
that story came about.
sorry, I have additional question considering Jesus here. Was this body, because we from the history, right, from the Bible and from the New Testament and history, and what Catholics believe that Jesus was resurrected and he was still alive for a long time, but indeed he disappeared somewhere. He wasn't he they say that he was taken somewhere or to God or whatever, that after resurrection we don't have any history, anything what happened. So assuming that he was living somewhere peacefully, was his body looking old or young?
The
Who
body
takes
of
side?
So the body of Christ that the author Michel Demarquet saw in the Golden Doko was at the age when Christ was resurrected or died on the cross. So he was in his 30s, and then he saw the injuries on his wrist, this portion, this part, not on the palm, because the palm wouldn't be able to support a person dying on the cross or nailed on the cross. So it's actually the wrist. And he also saw the injuries, the wounds of the upper body portion, where Jesus Christ was whipped by the people at that time. So what happened was that the soul or the astral body of Christ went away and went back to Category 9 planet, Thiaoouba, and the physical body was also taken away by the Thiaoubans and then preserved in the Golden Local, according to this book. So this is a very interesting story.
This is a strong one, because here everybody who believes or follows or heard another theory, or that Jesus actually had a long life after resurrection and he was coming with Mary toward the France. There are stories like that. It's something, against that, because what you are telling us, he died actually shortly after resurrection. If he had still marks on his hands, on his wrist, that means it was not enough even time to heal it, right?
Well, what happened was that when after Jesus resurrected, he appeared in front of a lot of people. That's true, because he needed to show them that there's life after death and there's reincarnation. So he really appeared in front of a lot of people. But then after his mission was completed, after showing people that he really resurrected and came alive again, he left Earth and then went away with the Thiaoubans. And there is a very interesting link that I sent you in the past. It's about the birth chart of Jesus Christ. And I think that's very interesting, because it actually proves when the exact date and year, date, month and year when Jesus Christ was resurrected and when he was nailed on the cross. So because the Chinese historical records recorded some of the abnormal phenomenon that appeared in the sky, so that actually matched the accounts in the Bible. And also really, on the other hand, proved the stories in this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, because there's a very famous astrologer. He received a mysterious phone call from a person who claimed that he got the real birth date and time of Jesus Christ from the Vatican records. And he gave that date and time to that astrologer. And that astrologer made a chart, and that's a chart of a perfect human being, a perfect being. It's actually just so perfect that he didn't really believe that birth chart could exist on Earth. And we all know that a lot of astrologers try to analyze the supposedly the right time and birth chart of Jesus Christ, but it really didn't seem to be a perfect being, a perfect human being. But that date and time, that's a perfect human being according to astrology.
See, the story, the more you're talking about it, raises more questions. Like, I'm sure not only me, but we all want to know more about it, how it really was. There are so many stories. There's a lot of misinformation right now. Some of it is on purpose, of course. So we don't know, so we are confused. But definitely this is something that we can look at it closely and connect the facts. Whatever you were saying about the tomb before, that we can combine this, and also with the astrologer, everything what's happening, and we can deduce puzzle by puzzle what was really the truth. But according to what you're saying, he was resurrected, but shortly after he must have been taken away somewhere else. Did he, according to Thiaoubians, had children?
Yes, they did have children, and they still do have children. But there are not that many children on the planet Thiaoouba because they can control the birth of their children. They're hermaphrodites, so they have male and female sexual organs on the same physical body. So they determine when to have a child. And Michel Desmarquet actually saw a few children on the planet, and he described them as level-headed, like very, very wise, kind of mature children. And so it's a very interesting experience, even for Michel Desmarquet, to be able to see how they live on the planet. Another interesting description is that he saw the people on the planet Thiaoouba as people who are highly spiritual. They do a lot of meditation most of the time. They also don't have this kind of pretentiousness. So people wear clothes only for comfort. So he actually saw a lot of naked people, so they don't have shame of being naked. So I found that to be very interesting because since I was very young, I always wondered about why people wear clothes. I mean, is it just for shame or something like? But so on that planet, people didn't have that kind of feeling, um, and he also talked to the local people, and it's very rare for ET, like for Earthling to visit that planet, or for another person from a different planet to visit Thiaoouba, because according to Michel Desmarquet, it's a rare event for the Thiaoubans to see someone from a different planet.
That's great. I still want to go back to Jesus for a bit. Did they tell him that Jesus had children? What the author heard? Because Thiaoouba obviously yes, but I remember you said before that Jesus was from that planet, like they exchanged him, right?
Yes. So there's
that's what, yeah, that is another extraordinary and something I don't know what people will say right now because looks like, yeah, like he picked his gender, right?
yes. So there's a Jesus and there's a Christ. So Jesus that's born out of Virgin Mary was indeed born out of a virgin from the embryo implanted by the Theobans in order to fulfill the prophecy that someone extraordinary was going to be born that way. And because he was born that way, he had to pass through what they call the river of oblivion, forgetting everything that he learned in his past lives and all the knowledge to perform miracles. That Jesus was very spiritual and highly intelligent, but he couldn't perform miracles. He went to India, traveled to China, and died in Japan. So there's a tomb of Jesus Christ in Shingo village, Japan.
And he wasn't crucified, right?
He wasn't crucified. That Jesus wasn't
crucified. Story. We are still, for everyone who's listening to that and accidentally came and listens, this is according to the book. We actually should also say, but in a second, to remind what is in a nutshell the book about, because someone already asked me, I don't know that book. So we have to consider that not everybody yet had a chance to read the full story. I was so sure that almost everybody read it because I read it, right? So we never said it in a nutshell. Okay, so that was Jesus, and the second one, Christ, right?
Yes. So that's Jesus in Japan who lived until 105 years and who had three daughters. And that there's a tomb of Jesus in Shingo village, Japan. So that's a Jesus who couldn't perform miracles. And there's Christ who took on the body of Jesus made by the Theobans. So the Theobans made a body that resembled Jesus. And when Theoban took on that body and became this Christ who could perform miracles. And that's the Christ who died on the cross and who resurrected 3 days after. He preached all the things in the Bible, like about love, spirituality, and that's the Christ who called his mother woman. And that's the Christ who did everything as miraculous in the Bible.
Okay, so according to that, we are entering the field of cloning. So they cloned him somehow, right? It was a different way of creation, yes?
Yes, it's more like putting the astral body of Christ into the body of Christ made by the Theoubans, so that he knew everything what he was supposed to do.
So they must have taken his DNA, I suppose.
It's actually the astral body.
So it's different.
He took on the body of Christ. So it's not just simply as DNA. It's actually just to just to make him look like Jesus, that was born from the Virgin Mary. Because remember, the Theoubans, they are hermaphrodites, so they have breasts, very very obvious and very beautiful breasts. So they wouldn't want the people at that time to see Christ as a beautiful woman, because at that time it was a male-dominated society. So that's why they had to do this way.
Okay. And now let's go back. So we have step by step. Please remind everybody, what is this book in a nutshell about, for everybody who didn't have a chance yet to read and are interested so far and already asked me.
Yes. So this book is a book that the author wrote describing his experiences of being taken into a parallel universe, and then onto his journey to a planet called Thiaoouba, a highly advanced planet in which people there are really beautiful and highly spiritual and compassionate about guiding people on Earth to the right direction. He stayed there for 9 days and then came back. And he documented what he saw, what he experienced, and what he was informed of a lot of interesting things on Earth, including the things about the paranormal.
As much as that sounds incredible and unbelievable, especially being taken on by other races, we actually hear it more and more of those kind of stories. And some people just make also just a business out of it, like pretending, but it's very easy to find out what is true or not, because we look at the congruency on what's happening. And this book, actually, when I read it, I really followed, I really liked, although that's why I asked about this topic about Jesus, because I was myself raised in a Catholic religion. So it was quite a shock learning a lot of things that were different already when I was digging in, already that doesn't fit, that doesn't fit. And first of all, those incongruencies were in the Bible, in whatever they were saying, and after that followed more. Now we have quite a new story, extraordinary story. And yes, we do have to follow that every extraterrestrials race, they could impose on humanity, like, hey, we invented that, hey, this is coming from us. I still would be careful here and watch it. But it's quite interesting that the author was so deeply in it. You know, he didn't just came back and say, okay, it was just a dream. It was just something extraordinary. I don't understand. He was very much convinced that that happened. And he lived to the end of his years with that story in his heart. So that impressed him amazingly.
Yes. And if I can share my screen, I can show you some proof regarding Jesus Christ. And
wow, yes.
Yes,
please
let me do that.
Share your screen. Yes. You can do that by, you know how to do it, right?
Yes. So right now, you can see my screen, right?
Oh, Astrocom, yes.
Yes. So this is questions about life of Jesus Christ. I was posing a question, why there's no record of Jesus performing miracles before the age of 30 or so. So this explains the story as recorded in the Bible, and also Michel Desmarquet, the author of Thiaoouba prophecy, what he was informed. So the astrologer, his name is Gian Paolo, he received a mysterious phone call giving him the date and time and birth information about Jesus from the Vatican records. And this is the birth chart of Jesus Christ, born
Bethlehem.
the 28th of March in the year 28th AD. So,
right.
so if you see this chart, you're going to see this is a perfect human being. This chart is incredible. Like people who can read astrology charts will agree that this is something like a chart, a birth chart of a saint. But it really doesn't match the accounts, other accounts in the Bible. So this is actually the time of the appearance of the Christ as described in the book Thiaoouba prophecy, the Christ who performed all the miracles at 5:40 a.m. In Bethlehem, Israel. So, and I also have proof about the other Jesus, the birth of the other Jesus. He was actually born on March 9th, the year 5 BC, before Christ. Because being a Chinese myself, I have some knowledge about the historical Chinese records. So based on the descriptions in the Bible, what appeared on the sky, there's corroborating evidence in the Chinese astronomy records that on that day something appeared in the sky. So according to the records, the Chinese records, the date would be March 9th, 5 BC.
That's incredible because nothing here fits normally Catholic celebration of 24th of December, right?
Right. That's actually like a pagan, like a practice from other religious beliefs, not from Christianity. Actually, Christ, Jesus born out of Virgin Mary was actually born in March.
Exactly. Yeah. That was one of the shocking things I discovered later on that, of course, as a child, they always fed us with the stories, right?
Yes.
First star, December, this is the day, right? And it's completely upside down. So now we even go deeper into that. And that is very interesting because I didn't hear about that famous astrologer that got this phone call. And we know in Vaticans, everything is hidden. And some of the people who want to get there, right, they're not going to be allowed to read the scripts, the books. Everything is hidden.
Yeah, I mean, the Vatican still has a lot of secrets that haven't been revealed to the public. So remember the date March 28th in the year 28 AD at 5:40 a.m. and you can check it out and to see if you can get the same chart. That's the I think the Julian calendar.
I would love to actually invite an astrologist to us so he can comment on that particular chart. I saw it just a little bit, but perhaps also you can share the link and everybody can just read it. It's in English, so, well, it's also in Chinese, but the English everyone can read.
Yes, that's right. So I'll stop sharing, and it will also show some matching records of the Chinese records and what's described in the Bible regarding the date of crucifixion of Christ and the date of resurrection of Christ.
Did this race also said something about Jesus coming back in the future? Because, just the fact that they took some of the dead bodies to that planet, it makes me think, or at least, ask this question, what are they planning to do with those bodies? There are like saints now in India that are dead, but their body is perfectly preserved.
Yes, because those people are really important historical figures in the history of different planets, they preserve the bodies just to commemorate those people, and they were actually the people guiding the whole process, because it's them, the Theobians, who sent Christ to us, Jesus and Christ to us, to preach spirituality and love. And I think it's kind of commemorating what their works were, just guiding the different lower planets in the universe to the right direction, like people like us. Yeah.
It's almost like a library, like an Akasha library.
Yes.
Just collecting, you know, maybe some also information, because I had a feeling when I was reading that book, there was something peaceful about that place. Like everybody, maybe from that planet, maybe from travelers from different planets who were visiting, if they went to that place and saw those floating bodies, it wasn't nothing like our earthy cemeteries. It was like an aura of peace. Did you have that feeling too?
Yes. When I was reading the book, I felt very loving, like a very loving feeling and very calm feeling. And it's really peaceful. When people read the book, they're going to feel the tone of the messages to be very, very guiding to the more spiritual level, and to be very peaceful. And I think that's actually a very good book to read when you have time, and to really refresh yourself and to obtain more knowledge.
Well, definitely it's going to shock some of the people. That's obvious, because every our belief, we are living in times when almost every our belief is tested, right?
Yes.
So it's actually perfect time to read that book. Some of us actually can go back to it and read it in a different mind already, when something changed, when we discover something. Even, you know, conspiracy theories several months ago, they ceased to be conspiracy. They are real. They happened. So who knows what we are going to discover next. Yeah. Asking about Jesus, and that's a huge topic, because everybody, you know, a lot of also Polish people who speak English will listen to that video. And we are, most of the times, we are raised in a Catholic religion. It's something like imprinted on us. So we had this shock discovering, like, the days they don't fit, like here, something doesn't click. But also, what people are talking about very often now all over the world is about second coming of Christ. You know, different cultures talking about it, or what they call second coming of Christ. Some of the cultures call this is not Jesus coming, but Antichrist, right? Because it's not supposed to happen. So what Thiaoouba were talking about it, was there anything, because I do not remember that part, but maybe you do.
You're right that you do not remember, because it's not written in the book.
Oh, but maybe you know something that we don't know yet, but the author already told you.
So that's why I wrote an article
Mm-hmm.
about giving as many hints as possible about what's not written in the book that the author told me. And the title of that article is The Second Coming of Jesus Christ. And I think the most important thing is to remember that it really doesn't matter to every one of us when will be the second coming. The most important thing is how to get ourselves to the right direction, and to look around how, like, everything is happening around us, and how we can respond, and to make ourselves unite, and to really kind of get ourselves act together to go against the tyranny, like the people who run everything behind the scenes, the powers that control everything, including the banking system. How we can take on the challenge and respond to the challenges that are facing us in the near future. As an economics major, I know there's a financial crisis coming up, because not a single time in history in the past that when the Federal Reserve raised so many times interest rates, that there's a soft landing. It's just not going to be a soft landing. So we need to be prepared for the financial crisis that's coming. We also need to be prepared for a lot of the other things that are happening around us, and to be prepared for like how we can imitate people on the planet where Archie, the other ET, lived, and how to make ourselves really our world a better world. So it really doesn't matter when Christ will come again. It really doesn't matter. The most important thing is what we need to do to make ourselves
now
how we can
now
help.
And this is big now, because whatever happens, I don't know if you heard the stories, but there's a lot of, in Europe, especially France, I saw the Flixbuses when people started to steal from the Flixbuses when they were just in the traffic stuck. And that was peculiar because I was in France that moment. That was November this past year, of course. This already happened. So if we not have this new consciousness of helping each other, people are falling back into this, lack, feeling the lack that is not enough for everyone. This is probably the worst because there is enough, but someone is taking away resources and putting the illusion of the money. Because if we see those numbers, those billions in the banks, they're not really existing, right? It's just number.
Yes.
They're not really printed.
Right. So if people know about the financial system, they're going to know what really they're doing. They're printing money and they're making everybody in debt, and they're gaining a lot of wealth and material wealth, and they don't know the real meaning of life. I mean, the financiers, the central bankers. But if people are curious about the timing, then I would suggest them to really use the analogy that I gave last time, which is when Enoch was taken away by the Jehovah's, by God, he was told to write a book. His great-grandson, a few decades later, was told to build an ark. So Michel Desmarquet was also taken by the same group of ETs, the Thiaoubans, to their planet, and he was instructed to write a book. He wrote a book. The abduction experience happened in 1987, and he finished writing the book in 1989 and had it published in 1993. So you can imagine what's going to happen a few decades later. So time is approaching. We need to act now. So that's why I'm so eager to promote the messages in the book.
Yes, I think we need more, like a concrete solutions, because we work on that for people like you, me, and many, many people who are already seeing what's happening on different levels with their professions. They watch, they follow it, they waking up from that illusion. They see that it's a sort of, a slaving system of that financial, whatever is happening with the financial system all over the world. Like, it's not really weird. Like, for example, Poland, it's a registered company in New York. And many of the people who are listening to YouTube and my YouTube and other people's programs, they showed me the proof of that. It's indeed. So this is really, it just doesn't make sense how you can do that. So there is definitely some sort of a bigger game here that we don't even know about. We don't understand when that even happened, right? So it feels like it's a little bit too late, like it's taken over by someone. So it's pretty hard for people just to say, okay, so we're getting out of that, but how? Nobody knows how, because first is the shock. Then it's gathering information for another decade, what is happening, why someone else is planning. And there is this misinformation in media, feeding us with fear of other things when they do something else. So also, for example, someone was telling that the most important changes in the law are done when people are not paying attention. So New Year, because nobody pays attention. So unless you're not a journalist and follows the specific actually areas. So you follow the politics, the economy, the how, where the money goes really. This is huge topic. I would like to ask you even more here what you're thinking and connect you also to some of the Polish people because they experience extraordinary things, not only the finding out, but we also find out like some of people lose memories. Some of the people are affected with medication imposed on them, telling them it's good for some other condition, but making them sick all over. So now we're talking about big pharma business, right? And yeah, when you talk to people, you cannot really connect. Like they are there, but something is blocked. And we know that some of the psychotropic drugs, they disconnect certain connections in our brain. So it's maybe designed for feeling less, but if they feel less, if people feel really less, what it makes of us.
Yes, everything revolves around money and also control. So the big pharma is really something that people should realize. The drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, are not necessarily good for you in the long run. I would suggest people to read books written by Anthony William titled Medical Medium. He suggests a lot of the real reasons for people getting sick. Things like heavy metals, things like viruses or bacteria, things like other issues that people are the real causes of certain sickness, like heart diseases or cancer or diabetes. And people can take a look at and read those books and to really be more independent and not to be relying on the medical system, the medical establishment of the world. They can really heal themselves and treat themselves using certain fruits and vegetables and herbs. And really, it doesn't cost a lot of money. Really, reading the book is actually the second best investment I ever made. The best investment I ever made is reading the book Thiaoouba Prophecy. And the second best investment I ever made is reading the books written by Anthony William called Medical Medium. So that really improved my health, my personal health for the better.
I will ask you also to give me all the links and your recommendations so I can attach under this video so everybody can have a direct look if we forget exactly, like the name and where to find it. Yes, did you know or do you know that because here people reporting me that some of the natural remedies are withdrawn from the market by European Commission and we cannot find it anymore. So for example, recently I was helping someone to get vitamin C that you can inject directly to the vein. So this is a normal procedure in Germany. In Poland, it's harder to do. It is very expensive and it's very hard to do this moment. Also, there were some other unnatural essential oils that are for the blood vessels. So there are no cloves in the blood, so people can, stimulate their blood flow. And currently, they are removing that from Poland.
There are alternatives. And if that's the case, then I tell people not to worry about it because there are ways to get around it. Just follow the advice of Medical Medium Anthony William. And also, I wrote several articles on how people would be able to respond to the current situation better. And I can share you the links. It involves a lot of innovative but natural remedies, like using light, the sunlight, ultraviolet lights, blue lights, and also some of the other dietary recommendations are really helpful. They're really inexpensive ways to implement, and you don't need to pay a lot of money for it.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's really everyone can use it. We have something very known in Poland, and all over the world it's more expensive. Castor oil, ricinus oil. You probably know that, but it's called Christ palm, and Edgar Casey was talking about it too. You probably know it. So yeah, there was a lot of those natural remedies that still are there, but we need to a little bit do more research. We want to be prepared for everything that's coming. There's a lot of prophecies, and all of these prophecies are changing slightly. They are talking about the third war, how it's gonna start. So actually, one of the prophecy, Alois Ehrenmeier, he said that it's going to start through Germany. So most of the Germany will be gone through because of the yellow smoke coming from Africa, something like that. What about those prophecies are talking the extraterrestrial Thiaoubians? What are they predicting? Or maybe it's not in the book, but maybe you know something and you can reveal a little bit.
Well, they really didn't say anything about what's going to happen in the future, but they're telling us that we need to act now in order to respond to certain issues that they're facing on Earth. They can only see like what's going to happen within 100 years, but not farther than 100 years. So that's why we determine our future. So this is why they took great pain to invite or to take Archie to meet with Michel Desmarquet and to explain how they did to really, through peaceful or nonviolent resistance or protest, and made their government or the world a better world. So it took only 4 persons to change a totalitarian regime to a more spiritual regime where everything worked perfectly. And so I think we should follow their steps. I think to speculate what's going to happen in the future is probably not as good as to act now and to learn how we respond to the challenges.
Someone recently told me that the government, the people who are running the politicians should be exchanged for younger people. Like normally people are going to politics to settle for a lifetime and take care of their families most of the times, not about humankind. They don't think in those categories. It's more about greed, but also about taking care of their own families, which is understandable. What can we do from your perspective? Because you see it also from the economical perspective. You see what's happening, and there is this big inflation, and people do not have enough money. And some countries already, there is more robberies, or we just have this impression because maybe media portray it like that. So there is this aura of fear imposed. But we want to be prepared for that. So what is your recommendation? What can we do now?
My recommendation is that to be more independent from the insurance companies or from the medical system, and to really have knowledge to live the life in a more healthy manner. Because I give you one personal example. In the last few days, there's a group, Thiaoouba Prophecy group, and some people says that his car just got taken away by the government because he owed money for about $7,000 or $8,000, and he wanted people to help him. And so this is something that I want to share with people. If you are having financial issues right now, you're going to have more financial issues 9 months or 12 months down the road because things are going to get worse. You really need to know that there's a financial crisis coming up. You need to be prepared because you need to know that a lot of companies are terminating employees, and China is in a mess, and a lot of other countries are in a mess. So the way to do that is to reduce expenses and reduce that, and eat naturally. Like things that are healthy are really not expensive, like fruits and vegetables. Those are healthy for you, but those are really expensive. If you can get it from the markets, and just eat more fruits and vegetables. Then don't rely on processed foods or meat.
Here are expensive, I can tell you. Sorry to interrupt you here, but here in Germany, fruits, good quality, because, for example, I cannot eat everything with pesticides. I will feel it. I mean, my body will feel it. So we go for natural, bio, organic food, and these are very expensive. Probably you will say that too. On the Polish side, we talk about doing supplies, like getting something in a better price for a longer period of time, like on olive oil, for example. So when you see that it's cheaper, then you buy it more, so it's going to last for a longer time. And those people who have a land, they of course have their own food. People can also connect together and create communities when one does something, and they exchange with no money. So one gives you, I don't know, tomatoes, and you give lemons. So that's a good trading, So, but what advice would you give to people who are living in, they don't have their lands, they don't own their own houses, they renting, they don't have a garden, they cannot plant their own food to grow, they're in the city, the air is not good, and there is like no way for them. They're really in a desperation sometimes, and they barely managing from each month to pay the bills.
Okay, a very good point on the organic foods. They're very expensive, but if you buy the local farmers or from the farmers directly or have a barter system, it's going to help a lot, mutually beneficial to the growers and also yourself. To the people you just described, I think the best way is to reduce the rent, because a lot of places you can get a better rent, and you just have to look for it. And also try to ride bicycles and transportation that doesn't have a lot of emission, and it's good for you, reducing costs. It's also good for the environment. And also try to find jobs. There are still jobs around, because I know for a fact if you really look into it, you can find jobs, and try to follow your heart and meditate and really have a good night of sleep. Follow the instructions given by your higher self. You're going to find solutions, if the solutions are good for your spiritual life, spiritual growth. So I think the solutions are there. People just have to really follow their heart and to ask their heart or higher self. And also, if you look at the insurance companies or the medical companies, they're really taking advantage of the ignorance of the people.
Yeah.
Yes. As a economy, like I study economy and also financial analysis, I know they're taking your money away and investing in the financial markets, but you have to know there's a financial market crash coming up, and really don't rely on the insurance companies or your retirement funds. Don't rely on them. They're going to get into trouble.
Yeah, actually, because you're living in America, so I heard like it's illegal to not have that insurance, that health insurance. But also in some of the countries too. But I was living in the Netherlands and I never had insurance, but not long enough. But I can tell you that in Germany, and this is why a lot of American people are gravitating to Germany. They do not want to leave this country, because it seems like there is a little bit more stability. There is this public health insurance, which is not that expensive. It is reasonably expensive, but it's not that expensive. Of course, you can go for a more expensive one with private insurances, but it gives you all the basics that you need just to, visit the doctor. You don't pay. Your insurance, it's covered by insurance, so you can do the basic blood test, and you can really keep yourself monitored, like healthy. And there is a lot that you can do yourself. In America, when I'm hearing stories of my friends paying enormous amount of money for just an operation.
Right.
This is crazy. Yeah,
yes,
this is crazy.
Yes.
And if people don't pay for that and something happens, they have even more to pay when something happens, right? So what is the idea? What could you recommend? What is the best to do?
I can tell you, if you read the books written by Anthony William, Medical Media, you are not going to get into cancer. You are not going to get into diabetes. You are not going to have a surgery unless an accident happens, which is unfortunate. But you're going to know how to keep yourself healthy. And for the mandatory insurance scheme by the U.S. government, there are ways to get around it. You can take a class at a community college, and as a student, you get student health insurance. It's about $30 a year. So $30 a year for medical insurance for students. You can get blood checks and you can get a lot of the routine examinations. So there are ways to get around the system, and people just
That's fantastic.
People just have to look around, look for it.
So you can have a company in America, for example, because obviously what you just said, not everyone is a student or looks like one, but let's say someone is, older or retired, but maybe for the retirees, there is a different, a price for insurance, but someone has maybe company or works, but when he signs to the college, he can get student insurance?
Yes. Even like a person like me, or people like in their 60s or 70s, they can still be a student in a community college.
And they get insurance for students?
Yeah, they gave them insurance to the students, all the students, $30 a year.
I think because of what you're doing, and remind you are a Chinese interpreter and translator,
Yes.
but it's not all you doing. You know a lot of tricks to go around and save yourself. And also because when I was visiting actually Los Angeles 2018, you say now it's bad, but it was bad that time too. I met people who were working 2 jobs. Sure, they had a big family, but they had 2 jobs and it still wasn't enough. They still had debts, and I'm not talking they were, doing extraordinary expensive buying and showing off. They were not buying, expensive cars or anything like that, or even the fee for university. Students take loans for, I don't know how much, but these are thousands. They pay off for 30 years. That's absurd. That's insane. It's like they have you for the rest of your life. For those who are currently going out there in the world and they have only the way to go to university and get a profession so they can pay it off, or they do not want to take that loan. They would never go to university, That is, if you can collect for us all the tips, we can compare it all over the world. Because, for example, I was lucky because I passed the exam, so I had university for free. When I'm saying that to people in America, it's unbelievable for them.
I mean, there are ways to get around it. I mean, if you have children that want to go to a college, ask them to go to a community college first for the first 2 years and save some money, and then go to a 4-year college if they have to. And normally, I don't think that's absolutely necessary. And as a student, they give you financial aid if the income is at a certain level, and you don't have to pay, and the government pays you a lot of money. And why not take advantage of it? And also, saving money, especially in the next few months, is going to be very, very important. One of the most important things is to try to take advantage of the public transportation system as possible, because the gasoline prices, car insurance, they all add up. And just I take buses all the time, and I think it's enjoyable. I can read books on the bus, and it's very, very pleasurable to use the public transportation system. They need to be used appropriately. Yes.
Okay, I know that we do not have more time today. For now, I would like to ask everyone, if you have specific questions, please write it down under this video. We will list the links to Samuel's blog articles, and also you will provide us more to the book still, and also to this medical book about supporting ourselves with natural remedies. And for today, I thank you so much for coming, and I'm looking forward to hear more and maybe about those natural tricks to going around and lessen our expenses.
Great. I'm very happy to be on your show again to tell more tricks that I discovered in my life.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to more. Thank you very much. Until the next time, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.